Good morning, this is Pauline.
And I'm Howard.
And we start today with the Sight for Wight news for Friday the 6th of September 2019. Tuesday, 10th of September, Laura will be at the Our Place community drop-in session at the West Wight Community Centre in Mower Place, Freshwater. Come along to say hello between 10am and 11:30am and enjoy a free cup of tea or coffee. The strollers will be meeting for a stroll in Cowes. They will meet for coffee at Forest View Nursery at approximately 10:45am. After the stroll, lunch will be at the Woodvale Inn in Gurnard at 12:15pm. Please contact the Society if you would like to join the strollers group. The swimming group are swimming at the Waterside Pool in Ryde from 8pm till 8:45pm. The pool is closed to the public whilst the group swims. There are male and female volunteers to help you get in and out of the pool, as well as lifeguards to ensure your safety. To join the swimming group, please call Sight for Wight first to notify us of your swimming ability. You need to register with the office at Millbrook House first to be able to swim with the group. Wednesday, 11th September. The weekly coffee morning will be held at Millbrook House this week from 10:30am. There will also be our low vision drop-in between 10am and 12 noon. This is a weekly event to allow you to view and try the low vision equipment we have at the Society without the need for an appointment. The book group will be meeting at the Lord Louis Library between 2pm and 3pm. We discuss the last month's book over tea and coffee and hand out the book for the next month. The books are available on CD or USB. Please contact Laura Jasper on 522205 for more information, or you can email members@iwsb.org.uk.
On Thursday the 12th of September, Laura will be at the monthly coffee morning at the Old Smithy coffee shop in Godsill between 10:30am and 11:45am. Our coffee mornings are run by staff and volunteers from Sight for Wight and are open to all. Refreshments include delicious fresh cakes and are available to purchase direct from the coffee shop. The Thursday social group is meeting at Millbrook House. The group meets from 10:30 till 2pm. With the help of a volunteer, the group enjoy a number of activities: crosswords, catching up on news and trivia, knitting and crochet. They're currently making pom-poms to make into a blanket. This very friendly mixed group also love to chat and enjoy lunch together. Later in the afternoon, volunteers come in and read to the group on different topics. If you'd like to join the group, then please contact the charity on 522205. Other news: Sight for Wight has the following donated second-hand items for sale. All items are in working order and are sold as seen. Optelec Clear Reader Plus with rechargeable battery in excellent condition with power plug, £300. RNIB Pen Friend version 1 with instructions and labels, £25. Cobalt Speechmaster Talking Microwave 2016 model in good used condition, £80. Daylight Standing Floor Lamp on wheels, so able to move around, good used condition, £20. Enhanced Vision Smart Reader with control handset, good used condition, £300. If you'd like to view or purchase any of these items, please contact Laura Jasper, members@iwsb.org.uk, or phone the charity on 522205. Raffle tickets are now available for our annual raffle, which will be drawn on 31st of October. The tickets are £1 each and come in a book of 5 tickets. Please contact Sight for Wight on 522205 or email inquiries@iwsb.org.uk if you'd like to purchase tickets.
Visit to Osborne House. Join us for a visit to Osborne House on Monday, 7th of October. Start time is 10:30am and it lasts for approximately 4 to 5 hours. There is an outdoor picnic area dependent on the weather if you'd like to bring a packed lunch. The self-service cafe sells light snacks and the Gazelle House cake shop at Swiss Cottage serves a small selection of snacks and cold drinks. Cost for an adult is £18.50 and £16.70 for a senior citizen. Minibus transport may be available depending on location and will cost £2. Closing date for applications is Friday, the 20th of September. For further details or to book your place, please contact Laura Jasper on 522205 or again email members@iwsb.org.uk. Visit the Isle of Wight Distillery, that's on Monday the 11th of November. Meet first at 10:30am at the Old Barracks Tea Room in Puckpool Park, Ryde, followed by a talk and tasting at 12 noon for approximately 45 minutes to 1 hour at the Isle of Wight Distillery, Pondwell, Ryde. No charge for the talk or tasting. Minibus transport may be available again depending on location and will cost £2. Closing date for applications is Friday the 25th of October, and for further details or to book your place, please contact Laura on 522205 or again email at iwsb.org.uk. This week's In Touch, Lego's Accessible Instructions Pilot. 22-year-old Matthew Schifrin contacted Lego to ask them to make instructions for their construction sets accessible to visually impaired people. The blind Lego enthusiast has been devising his own with the help of a friend for 10 years and making them available on his own website. The toy company has met the challenge and released instructions in a downloadable format for screen readers for Braille and to listen to directly online. Peter Wight speaks to Matthew Schriffin about why he loves Lego so much when it's not historically been accessible to him, and also to Fenella Blaze charity from Lego about its plans. 12-year-old Hester is this week's studio's guest, and she and her mum Sarah try out the new instructions with mixed success. Hester also shares her recent experience of visiting a blind school in Ethiopia. The presenter is Peter Wight, the producer Lee Kumartat.
And now on to the county press for today, 6th of September 2019. The headlines first. A nurse sues the NHS. A former St Mary's Hospital nurse has sued the Isle of Wight NHS Trust for £200,000 after her surgery was botched. Karen Byrne, 53, of East Cowes, suffered a leaking urethra, the duct which passes urine from the kidneys to the bladder, following an operation to remove her large bowel in February 2016 to treat her ulcerative colitis. Karen suffered psychological trauma and lived with severe pain for nearly 5 weeks after the surgery at St Mary's, where she worked as an operational lead. It was only when she returned to the hospital that doctors diagnosed damage to her ureter caused during the surgery. The trust has apologised and admitted liability, but a compensation agreement has yet to be reached. Karen has been left with ongoing bladder problems and post-traumatic stress disorder following reconstructive surgery. She's had to be medically retired from her job at the hospital. Karen said, "The past few years have just been a devastating nightmare. After the operation, I just couldn't believe how wiped out I felt. Everything was a real struggle. The pain was constant. It was clear something was seriously wrong, and it was frightening no one appeared to take this with the seriousness it merited. It's clearly a sensitive and sometimes embarrassing illness when you have bowel problems, but instead of protecting my dignity, the general care I received left me feeling humiliated. I'm devastated. I had to give up the job I loved, and I now struggle to complete some daily tasks that most people take for granted. My only hope now is the Trust can learn from what happened to me and reinforce to its staff the need to provide top quality care at all times. Hopefully then others won't have to suffer like I have." A spokesman for the Isle of Wight NHS Trust said, "We're truly sorry for the harm caused as a result of this case. We would like to reassure local people lessons have been learnt and that we've done a lot to improve our services since 2016, and we will work hard to make sure they keep on improving." Rebecca Brown, medical negligence lawyer at Irwin Mitchell's Southampton office representing Karen, said, "What should have been fairly routine surgery has led to several years more pain and mental anguish. The consequences are still having a profound effect on her life. Karen has been further upset by the Trust originally failing to acknowledge any issues in the care it provided to her when she made an official complaint. It was only after our investigations the Trust admitted its duty of care towards her fell way below what patients should expect to receive. We also hope her case acts as a warning as to why hospital trusts and staff need to uphold the highest standards of care at all times.
One of 6 sea eagles released on the island has flown the coop to Essex via the bright lights of central London. The juvenile white-tailed eagles were released 2 weeks ago, each equipped with a satellite transmitter to log their location once every 3 minutes. 5 of the birds have remained at or close to the top-secret release site on the Isle of Wight. One, however, affectionately known as Culver, having ditched the less snappy moniker G322, bucked the trend by taking flight across the south-east. Tim McCrill of the Royal Dennis Wildlife Foundation, which, in conjunction with Forestry England, launched the project to reintroduce the raptors to southern England for the first time in 240 years, said, "Juvenile white-tailed eagles often wander widely in their first 2 years, regularly venturing up to 200 kilometres from their nest site. What we weren't expecting was for one of the Isle of Wight birds to do that within 2 weeks of release. It is testament to what good condition the bird is in. Rather than refer to G322 by its ring number, we thought it would be good to choose an Isle of Wight name. We chose Culver after Culver Cliff, the best place white-tailed eagles bred in southern England." After the release on August the 22nd, Culver spent a week exploring the Isle of Wight before roosting in coastal woodland a few kilometres east of the Needles, then following the route of the Wight Link ferry and heading off on his travels. Following his trip to Essex, he then headed through the Sussex countryside. By Tuesday, the tracker showed he was perched on the edge of a field 2 kilometres north of Burgess Hill. He set off again, stopping at Beachy Head, then headed to Eastbourne, taking in popular tourist spots, including Arlington Reservoir, Barkham Reservoir and Haywards Heath. After soaring at altitudes ranging from 70 metres to 650 metres, Culver took a rest near the Knepp Estate in West Sussex, home of the famous Rewilding Project.
The Isle of Wight Health Trust has improved its Care Quality Commission (CQC) rating, but remains in special measures. Formerly rated inadequate, the Isle of Wight NHS Trust has been upgraded to requires improvement following another CQC inspection. Inspectors found most areas had improved since their last visit in January 2018. In May and June, the Trust's mental health, community, ambulance and primary care services were re-inspected. The Trust was rated as requires improvement in 4 categories: safe, effective, responsive and well-led, and good in the caring category. In the inspection report published on Wednesday, the CQC gave examples of areas where the Trust had continued to fail patients. Inspectors found patients did not always have enough food and drink, there were not enough qualified staff, and assessment waiting lists stretched to 8 months. 81 breaches of legal requirement were found. Mental health services remained inadequate, but other services, including NHS 111 and out-of-hours services, were now rated good. Dr. Nigel Atchison, the CQC's Deputy Chief Inspector of Hospitals, said, "We found a number of improvements had been made. However, there are areas where further work is needed, and the Trust must continue to make changes that will lead to sustainable improvements so that people receive the care they should be able to expect. Although there has been progress in addressing some of the immediate issues, we felt it's too early to judge their effectiveness, and for that reason I believe the Trust should remain in special measures for now. In particular, the Trust needed to ensure there was sufficient and suitably qualified staff available, and systems to guard against risks were fully embedded to ensure patients were protected from avoidable harm. Inspectors found patients were treated in non-patient areas when there were no beds available, putting them at risk. There were not enough qualified staff to keep patients safe, and concerns remained regarding mental health services for adults and elderly people. Warning notices for those areas requiring significant improvements have been issued. Areas praised as compassionate by the CQC included the patient transport service and its staff. One patient who hadn't seen the sea for a long time due to their age and infirmity was driven home along the seafront when they were discharged from hospital.
A major project to replace St Mary's Roundabout with traffic light junctions is due to start this month and will take nearly 15 months to finish. Island Road and the Isle of Wight Council said this week the work was due to start on September the 30th and finish in mid-December next year. The aim of the work, part of a wider project to remodel the road layout from Asda to Camp Hill, funded by a £9.6 million government grant, is to improve traffic flow and reduce congestion in Newport and improve access for pedestrians and cyclists. The first phase will last for 25 days and include the widening of the Dodner Lane carriageway and B&Q roundabout. In phase 2, also lasting 25 days, a one-way restriction will be implemented at Forest Road, eastbound, allowing SSE to start work. In the third phase, lasting 35 days, the main roundabout rebuilding works will start. Roadworks will be paused during Christmas and the Isle of Wight Festival. The council warned the work would cause disruption, particularly until motorists become used to the temporary traffic arrangements. In return, the council has offered free weekend afternoon parking in its Newport car parks during the run-up to Christmas and discounted Cowes floating bridge travel. Councillor Ian Ward, Infrastructure and Transport Cabinet member, said, "We've been assured a traffic light junction will have more capacity for vehicle movements than a roundabout. We're now set to begin this major scheme to improve traffic flows both now and in the future at what is a notoriously busy junction." David Evans, Strategic Manager for Highways and Transport, said, "During construction there will be various temporary traffic arrangements so work can be undertaken as quickly and safely as possible. Traffic lanes will be reduced temporarily and contraflows introduced, as well as short-term speed reductions. Road users will inevitably experience delays and should allow additional time for their journeys. Double yellow lines will be painted at Manors View and Riverway for the duration of the scheme."
A drink driver who works for a gin company has been banned from the roads for 5 years. Duncan Barnes, 52, appeared at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court last Tuesday, where he admitted 1 count of drink driving. When he was arrested, he had a breath alcohol reading of 155, more than 4 times the legal limit of 35. The court heard Barnes was arrested after police were called to the Downs Road near Brading shortly before 10 a.m. on August the 11th. He'd pulled up at the side of the road as he drove to work, at which point a concerned passerby reached into his open window and took the keys from the ignition before walking away and calling the police. Prosecutor Anne Smout said police were called to an incident in which a member of the public had stopped him and taken his keys to prevent him from leaving. Police noticed Mr. Barnes smelled very slightly of alcohol, but he told them he hadn't been drinking. The court heard Barnes, who works for Mermaid Gin at the Isle of Wight Distillery in Pondwell, had been promoting the drink at a stand during Cowes Week the previous day. He then returned home and continued to drink. Barnes of Cooper's Close Freshwater was previously convicted of drink driving in 2009. He was given a suspended sentence. Mrs. Smout says Barnes' breath alcohol reading was extremely high. "I would have thought a reading such as this would cause someone to be unconscious," she said. Defending, Oscar Vincent said, "This too is the highest reading I've ever seen, but it is to his credit he's managed to stay out of trouble for 10 years. When he drove to work he felt fine, but then he began to feel unwell, so he decided to stop. He was entirely cooperative with police and says he doesn't have any issues with alcohol." Magistrates sentenced Barnes to 6 months in prison, suspended for 2 years, and banned him from driving for 60 months. He was ordered to complete 100 hours of unpaid work and pay court costs of £85 and a surcharge of £122.
Tributes have been paid to web developer Carl Crawley after he suffered a suspected heart attack and died during a family holiday in Spain. The Cowes-based entrepreneur had no family history of heart disease and was believed to have been in good health, but suddenly became dizzy shortly after a meal with his wife Emma. He died on August the 20th, aged just 40, leaving Emma and children Izzy 15, Megan 10 and Noah 8. Emma said Carl was always active. He loved going to rugby matches with our eldest daughter Izzy and was a proud Welshman. It's unbelievable to think there was a picture taken just half an hour before he was gone where he looks absolutely fine. He was my soulmate and my best friend. His death has left a massive hole in our lives and hearts. We're all completely devastated. The tragic news comes just weeks after Carl's close friend, Ben Rothwell, lost his year-long battle with the debilitating illness motor neuron disease, and he was aged 46. Described as a larger-than-life family man with a penchant for loud shirts, Carl enjoyed martial arts, playing golf, turning out for Ventnor Rugby Club and advising aspiring web designers. In 2010, Carl founded software development company Made by Hippo and was a mentor to several Isle of Wight startups, including Peekaboo, whose founder, Brett Wight, said, "Carl was a gentle giant who I miss terribly, a true fountain of knowledge when it came to anything technical. More importantly, he was a fantastic person who adored his wife and kids and who effortlessly brought a smile to people's faces."
Protesters descended on Newport on Saturday to hold demonstrations against the suspension of Parliament, to shouts of "traitors" from passers-by. 2 protests were held at St Thomas's Square by Islanders for Europe and the Isle of Wight Labour Party. Both called on the government to halt plans to prorogue Parliament ahead of Brexit negotiations. The Islanders for Europe demonstration met with criticism from passers-by as shouts of "traitors" and "liars" could be heard over the chants of the protesters. Speaking to the crowd, Isle of Wight Green Party leader Vix Lowthian said, "The people are the most important part of democracy, and those people in Westminster, those people in Downing Street, and, dare I say it, the Queen at Buckingham Palace, their power rests on their mandate from us." She led protesters in chants of "Boris Johnson got it wrong" and "Stop the coup." Protester Paul Wilson said, "I'm here so our children won't have to grow up in this mess that is about to happen." Boris Johnson is showing dictatorial tendencies. Regardless of if you're a Remainer or a Leaver, you should be terrified of this. Those who said they wanted to leave to take control are ready to hand it over to a single person to shut down democracy. Island Labour Chair Julian Critchley said, "The democracy of our Parliament, the democracy of our people, and the democracy of our ancestors, from the Levellers to the Chartists and the Suffragettes, are under threat." More than 1.7 million people nationally have signed a protest opposing the prorogation of Parliament, including more than 3,000 people from the island.
After he was knocked down by a 4x4 and left lying in the road with a broken ankle, Daniel Hodgkinson has lost his job, his flat, and faces 6 weeks in plaster. He said the driver left the scene without exchanging details and has appealed for anyone with information to call the police. Daniel, 37, was walking along the Mall near his home in Lake on Friday, August the 23rd, when he said he was hit by a black 4x4 vehicle. A police spokesperson said it was reported the car did stop at the scene and the driver exited the vehicle. However, it's also reported that no details were exchanged. The road does not have pavement, so Daniel was walking in the road. He heard a car beep but did not look round, then said he was knocked down. Both left wheels ran over his ankle. Daniel said the driver, a man, got out of the car and approached him, telling him, "I thought you were out of the way." He said he saw a woman and children in the car before the man returned to the vehicle and drove off. Daniel was able to make his way to his girlfriend's house, but said, "I woke up the next morning in agony, so I went to A&E. I had bruises and tire marks on my leg." Daniel's ankle has been put in plaster and it will be at least 6 weeks until it heals. "I've lost my job over this," said Daniel, who was working as a chef on a 0 hours contract. He's claimed employment support allowance, but it was not enough to pay his rent, so he's had to move out of his flat. Daniel said, "I've lost my flat and my job because this guy ran over me."
A mother has asked parents to familiarise themselves with the symptoms of Kawasaki disease after a daughter was diagnosed with it. Rachel Ward of Ryde said she followed her mother's intuition to whisk daughter Paige, 4, to hospital when she went downhill quickly following a misdiagnosis of possible measles and tonsillitis. Paige was found to have Kawasaki disease, which can lead to heart complications and can prove fatal. Paige became ill with a temperature on July 2nd after an enjoyable birthday the day before. She was at Blackgang Chine when she complained of tummy ache, developed red eyes, a temperature, and by the evening a rash. Rachel said the next morning she still had all that and a huge gland up on her neck, which I instantly knew wasn't right, so I took her to the doctor. They told us it was a viral infection. Paige's condition worsened over the next couple of days, and Rachel rang 111 and was advised to take her back to the doctor. By this time she was very poorly and Rachel had to carry her in. Her symptoms had escalated to include bumpy hands, as if she'd fallen in stinging nettles, bloodshot eyes, dark black circles under her eyes, red peeling lips, abdominal pain, diarrhoea, and a widespread rash. The doctor thought it was measles and tonsillitis, so started her on antibiotics. But the next evening Rachel felt something wasn't right. She said, "Call it mother's intuition." I rang 111 and they said someone would call me back. Some time passed and I could see Paige was going downhill, so I drove to hospital. We were seen very quickly by a nurse practitioner who was brilliant and got the ball rolling. Paige was diagnosed with Kawasaki disease. When the immune system attacks the body, causing blood vessels to inflame, it can cause heart problems. Paige endured 6 hours of intravenous immunoglobulin and received an echo on her heart, which showed no damage. After 4 days she was allowed to go home and continue her treatment there. Rachel said, "Paige became aggressive, emotional and physically demanding. I found it hard to cope. As the weeks have gone on, she's got better, and I'm finally seeing my happy, sweet and caring daughter again. She's now making a good recovery. The disease is very unknown. People have never heard of it, which scares the life out of me, considering how fatal it can be to a child's heart if gone undiagnosed. There are long-term side effects, which I'm hoping Paige won't have, but only time will tell. Paige was diagnosed on day 6, and early diagnosis is vital to prevent further complications. I cannot fault the care we received at St Mary's Hospital. They were brilliant."
Coast Guard and lifeboat crews rescued a dog that fell down the cliffs at Freshwater. Archie wriggled under a fence at Fort Redoubt and slipped some 60 feet down the cliff to Watcombe Bay beneath. The Freshwater Independent Lifeboat and Needles Coast Guard rescue team were called to the bay at around 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday. They found Archie perched on a ledge and took him back to the lifeboat station. Lifeboat helm Kai Hall said Archie was a very well-behaved dog. It's a concern for crew when dealing with animals. They're often scared and can be unpredictable. Archie's owner, Mr Noakes, who was on holiday from Norwich, was waiting at the boathouse for the boat's return. The two were reunited, with Archie showing no sign of trauma from his adventure.
A Lake woman has been placed on the sex offenders register for 5 years and barred from working with children. Georgina Woodburn, 42, of Dennis Road, was sentenced for historic sex offences against a boy aged under 14 at the Isle of Wight Crown Court on August 13th. She was convicted of 5 counts of indecency with a boy aged under 14 between the dates of March 1988 and March 1994. 3 of the counts were for gross indecency and 2 of indecent assault. The offences date back to when she was between the ages of 11 and 17. She was given a community order concurrent on all offences for 12 months.
2 island nurseries have been rated outstanding by Ofsted. Little Acres Childcare Centre in Newport and New Church Nursery have been awarded the top rating following recent inspections. Inspectors who visited the nurseries on July 22nd and 23rd gave each one top marks across all areas, including leadership, the quality of teaching, personal development and outcomes for children. The nurseries are both owned by Firs Hill Childcare Centre, and all 4 of the company's childcare settings are now classed as outstanding. Jill Wade-Smith, Managing Director, said, "We're absolutely delighted the hard work and dedication of the team at Little Acres and New Church in striving to provide the best they can for the children and families has been recognised in these reports. The commitment of the staff and their passion for driving continual improvement is commendable and is what forms the basis for our continued success."
Singer Alfie Bow is to become a patron of island charity Friends of the Animals. He agreed to take on the role after speaking to his friend, the musician Rick Wakeman, a current patron and long-standing supporter of the charity. Charity founder Helen Sinclair said, "Having first ascertained they're animal lovers, Rick never misses an opportunity to tell people about our work. It's fabulous Alfie will become a patron."
More than £1,450 was raised for a suicide prevention charity at 2 tattoo events in memory of an island man who took his own life. They were organised by Dawn Thistlewood in memory of her son, Sam Pritchard, who was just 30 when he died earlier this year, together with Tainted Skin Tattoo Studio in Cowes. Studio owner Katie Walmsley gave people heart-shaped tattoos, a universally recognisable symbol of mental health awareness in Sam's memory. Customers, including Dawn's parents, aged 84 and 83, paid £30, with proceeds going to the campaign against living miserably. Calm. Dawn from Cowes funded Calm to help prevent male suicide. She said, if one person stops me to ask about my tattoo and it makes them realise that they aren't alone, then it was worth it. That's how I know Sam is still out there in some way.
A new managing director has been appointed at the Isle of Wight NHS Clinical Commissioning Group, CCG. Alison Smith has taken on the senior leadership role at the organisation, which is responsible for planning and buying NHS health services on the island. She said, I'm passionate about this role and the island community. We all use and value health and care services, and it's so important the work we do continues to make a difference to the community we serve. Our priority is to ensure we have the right services for island people and to ensure we work closely together, not only within the CCG, but also with our partner organisations. Alison has worked at operational and strategic levels in provider trusts. Most recently, she was the Chief Operating Officer at the Mid-Essex NHS Trust, focusing on quality and performance improvement. As head of the Isle of Wight NHS CCG, Alison said she aimed to build on partnership working with the Isle of Wight Council and Isle of Wight NHS Trust, as well as third sector and voluntary organisations, to deliver the best health and care services for island residents. Alison said, the ultimate test will be measuring patient feedback, but also that of our staff and partners to ensure we're delivering the best services and support. Clearly, improvements won't happen overnight, but over the next few months, we're focused on delivering improvements in areas such as mental health and emergency care.
The 6th annual Isle of Wight Buses, Beer and Walks weekend will take place on October the 12th and 13th, and it's set to be more popular than ever. This year's family-friendly event will see 110 buses offering free travel on a first-come, first-served basis to more than 120 island venues, including, for the first time, Kelbourne Mill and Chesil Pottery. Following a launch event on Tuesday, founder Tim Marshall said, the event has snowballed from the initial seed of an idea, where I contacted a friend with a vintage bus, into a jaunt around some of the island's most beautiful areas. Last year we had around 17,000 people take part, with many bringing their dogs along for the ride. We hope people will come along and enjoy themselves as in previous years, with a number of additional family-themed venues added to the route. In addition, we are pleased to be part of the Visit IW Travel Ambassadors Green Star scheme, which encourages car-free holidays on the island. The Buses, Beer and Walks event is free, with the option to buy a programme for £7. The programme includes a timetable, Sun Vectus and Wight Link offers, and money-off vouchers for pubs and other venues included on the route. The first buses will depart from Ryde Bus Museum at around 9:35 a.m. on the first day of the event and will run through until 7 p.m. Programmes are available at all participating venues, as well as the Visitor Centre at Newport Guildhall and online at the event's website.
Isle of Wight Royal Mail staff met last Friday ahead of possible strike action over plans to change the postal service. Workers walked out of the Royal Mail sorting office on the Riverway Industrial Estate Newport to hold gate talks and discuss a ballot on strikes planned for September 17th to October the 8th. It follows news Royal Mail's Chief Executive Rico Black is considering reviewing previous agreements made with staff. Addressing the Isle of Wight staff, Communication Workers Union representative Alan Dexter said, 6 years ago we were privatised and they promised they would keep our terms and conditions. The new Chief Executive is gung-ho for everything you can think of. He wants to review the 4 Pillars Agreement and get rid of some of the protections we've had for the last 4 years. The 4 Pillars Agreement was a deal the union had previously agreed with Royal Mail. It guaranteed, among other things, legal protection in terms of working hours and employment security. Mr. Dexter said, I'm worried about job losses. At the moment we earn a living reasonable wage. If he takes away our protections, there's nothing stopping them from taking away our pay. On top of that, he wants the universal service obligation, which requires Royal Mail to deliver to all houses in the UK 6 days a week, gone. If he gets it removed for one of those days, you're looking at huge job losses.
A drink driver who crashed into two parked cars has been banned from the roads for 26 months. Helen Sparrow, 54, appeared at Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on August the 23rd, where she admitted one count of drink driving. When she was arrested on August the 7th, she had a breath alcohol reading of 144, more than 4 times the legal limit of 35. Sparrow was seen getting into a car in the car park at St Mary's Road, Cowes, before attempting to drive away and colliding with 2 parked cars. Prosecutor Vivian Ducey said at around 8:45pm, witnesses saw a drunk female wandering around in the car park. She then got into a black Audi and crashed into a car as she pulled out. She crashed into a second car as she drove onto the road. At that point she stopped and waited for the police to arrive. The court heard Sparrow of Windmill Close, Cowes had just woken up and did not believe she was still drunk. Liz Miller, defending, said, "Miss Sparrow had told me she did not realise she was over the limit. She fully accepts that she has a problem and that she needs to be punished for this. She also tells me she works for Aldi and doesn't know what will happen next." Sparrow was given a 6-week prison term, suspended for 12 months, in addition to a 26-month driving ban. She's ordered to pay a surcharge of £122 and court costs of £85. Presiding Magistrate Keith Jones says, "This is the highest reading I have ever seen in this court. This is a very high reading and our guidelines make it quite clear the starting point for something like this is a custodial sentence."
A primary school teacher has received an award for going the extra mile for her work encouraging children to appreciate the great outdoors. Stephanie Dunford, a forest school teacher at Knighton Primary School, was presented with the award at the Isle of Wight Council's Education Awards. The event was held at the Anthony Minghella Theatre at Quay Arts, Newport. The awards were presented by Council Cabinet Member for Children's Services, Councillor Paul Brading, and Isle of Wight High Sheriff Jeff Underwood. Stephanie was recognised for her energy and determination as a forest school teacher and for leading the school's first global rock entry. Stephanie said, "I became a forest school leader because I wanted to give children the opportunity to learn and develop their independence in a different environment. I had an amazing response getting Knighton involved in global rock. The extra things I do are never a chore. It makes it worthwhile when I see the children's reactions." Other award winners included Richard May, Greenmount Primary School's head teacher of 20 years, who was presented with an award for sustained contribution to educational success. Christ the King College science teacher Dr. Bethany Foreman received the Educational Excellence Award after supporting 40% of students to achieve A-star and A grades in their GCSE science exams. During the evening there were performances by Greenmount Primary School pupil Caris Nicholas, who played the piano, and Ryde Academy student Anna Parkinson, who sang. The other award winners were Becky Mann and Ella Greenslade from St George's School, Impact Beyond the Classroom, Pat Sutman from the Isle of Wight College, Leading Light, and Lindsay Davis and Katie Edmonds, also from the college, Strong Foundations and Unleashing Potential Awards. The Bay CVE Primary School's A team, Tim Addison, Sally Jones, Jade Kennard, Reuben Lovell, Reverend Ian Lovell, Kate Whiting and Marie Woodward won the Unsung Hero Award.
A father and son carried out a revenge attack by chasing their victim into a convenience store before one of them attacked him with a hammer. Martin and Mitchell Shotton, aged 43 and 18 respectively, appeared at the Isle of Wight Crown Court on Friday, August the 16th, after admitting a fray at a previous hearing. On February the 13th, the court heard the duo pursued their victim, Levi Bellamy, along Ventnor High Street in their blue Peugeot. They then leapt out of the car, grabbed a lump hammer from the boot and chased him into the High Street Tesco store. CCTV footage played to the court showed Bellamy tried to escape by running out of the shop, but was hampered by the slowly closing automatic doors. He was then caught by the pair, at which point Martin Shotton hit him with the lump hammer. The court heard the father and son of Arica Drive, East Cowes, attack Bellamy as an act of retribution, after Bellamy had himself attacked a teenager earlier that day. As reported, Bellamy was jailed after pulling a 17-year-old off his bicycle and stamping on his head. Graham Gilbert, defending, said there was an attack on a friend of theirs earlier that day, for which Bellamy was sentenced to 4.5 years imprisonment. They accept that what happened was a gross overreaction to the situation. The hammer caused no injuries to Mr. Bellamy, but Martin acknowledges this in no way diminishes his actions. Judge Roger Hetherington said, "I want to make it clear this affray was a serious offence. Earlier that day he had attacked a friend of yours and that resulted in imprisonment for him. But you went about him with that hammer. The two of you got him to the ground and then rained further blows down upon him. I would be failing in my duty if I did not meet an assault with a hammer with a custodial sentence." Martin Shotton was sentenced to 8 months imprisonment. His son Mitchell Shotton was sentenced to 4 months in prison, suspended for 1 year.
Less than 24 hours after Caden Cantello saw an optician after suffering headaches, he was diagnosed with a brain tumour and airlifted to Southampton General Hospital for an urgent biopsy. Tests were carried out at Great Ormond Street Hospital, and Caden, 14, was diagnosed with a tumour on his thalamus in the centre of his brain, a rare type of tumour that will require specialist treatment. It was a huge shock to his family, who was supported throughout the ordeal by the Wight Brainy Bunch, the charity founded by Catherine and Ryde firefighter Mark Grimes to support islanders with brain tumours and their loved ones. Caden's mum, Leanne Cantello, said, "The doctor hadn't seen this kind of tumour before. We're waiting for the full results. We've been told it's a low-grade tumour and it's not aggressive, but it's very rare. So right now we're in limbo. We're just not sure what we're dealing with." Eager to help, Caden's sister Lily Cantello, 7, and cousin Georgia Staley, 9, organised a fundraiser. They had their long hair chopped on Sunday at T's Hair Studio, Carisbrooke, by their auntie Kerry Kelly, giving their hair to the Little Princess Trust and donations to the Wight Brainy Bunch. Leanne, who also had her hair cut, said, "Since she was about 2, Lily has wanted hair as long as Rapunzel. Every year she agrees to have a few inches cut off, but then she changes her mind. But we knew we wanted to do something, and both Lily and Georgia wanted to help. I explained Caden might lose his hair or he might not, and they wanted to do this for the right reasons." The Wight Brainy Bunch has been fantastic. Kat from the charity has supported us with everything, not just travel costs, which has been incredible, but also with counsellors and support groups. She's met me personally to talk it through, and both Mark and Kat came to watch the haircuts. They hope to raise £300, but have increased their target to £2,000 following overwhelming support. So far they've raised £1,875. Caden's school friends also organised 2 car boot sales, which raised £320.
The 20th Wolverton Manor Garden Fair is hoping for record receipts following a memorable weekend. Thousands of people were entertained on Saturday and Sunday at the home of Jane and Mark Patterson in Shorewell, with Elizabethan dancing, live music, donkeys, alpacas and dog displays, providing a variety of family fun. The annual event usually raises between £18,000 and £20,000 for Age UK, Isle of Wight and other charities. Jane said it was a fabulous weekend. Visitors poured through the gates and it was just a great occasion. "We don't know how much we have raised, but we will confirm that next month at our charity presentation. However, I can reveal we're hoping it will be a new record for the event." The packed weekend saw island and mainland nurseries selling all manner of plants and gardenalia, alongside craft stalls and classic car, bike, military vehicle and engine displays. There was also kayaking around the moat and historical reenactments. Jane said our Elizabethan reenactors were wonderful. They're all old family friends and come every year to perform Elizabethan dancing and host an apothecary's pavilion. There are around 20 of them and they stay in the house or grounds, so it just makes for a marvellous weekend.
So that concludes the first part of your talking newspaper for today. Goodbye, best wishes from Howard.
And goodbye from Pauline.
Hello, now for the second part of this week's County Press. I'm Linda.
And I'm Paul.
And we start off with some letters. This one's entitled Last of the Summer Orchids, and it's from Stephen Oakesmonger of Ventnor. On the lawns of the Isle of Wight, an inconspicuous species of wild orchid appears to be disappearing rather too quickly. Autumn Lady's Tresses, Spiranthus spiralis, is the last of Britain's 55 species of wild orchid to come into flower annually. From mid-August, their thin, pale green stems appear on lawns, verges, recreation grounds, churchyards, cemeteries, and on downland. By the end of August, up to 20 delicate white bell-like orchid flowers appear from the middle of the stem in a spiral resembling a ringlet, hence the name lady's tresses. The plant's tiny stature, just 3 to 15 centimetres, means that they are easily overlooked. My partner and I have found the orchid on over 200 lawns on the Isle of Wight, although virtually none of the residents realise they have them. The orchid is prevalent in parts of Bembridge, Binstead, Colwell, Cowes, Freshwater, Ryde, Sandown, Seaview, Totland and Wootton, so keep an eye out.
Here's a letter from Hugh Harrison in Northwood, proud to be part of prorogation protest. It was a privilege to be at a protest meeting in St Thomas's Square, Newport, on Saturday, where more than 200 people gathered to voice their concerns at the unprecedented prorogation of Parliament since 70 years at a time of national crisis. During the Conservative leadership campaign, many senior ex-cabinet ministers voiced their opposition to the prorogation of Parliament in order to force a no-deal Brexit. Barely a month later has Mr Johnson taken this singularly undemocratic step to prevent a reasoned debate on what is the single most important decision since the war with Iraq, where Parliament ignored the views of more than 2 million people. Surely it is in the interest of the British people as a whole, rather than a coterie of 140,000 Conservatives, to have their views heard through their elected representatives in Parliament.
From Hans Bromwich of Cowes, it's only right to acknowledge the Isle of Wight's NHS Trust Chief Executive Maggie Oldham and her team's success in securing £48 million from the recently announced pre-general election £2.1 billion boost for our NHS. It's clear this money is going to be largely used to push through the Sustainability and Transformation Plan and buy medical care for islanders with partners on the mainland. Having carefully undermined island NHS services over many years, with cuts upon cuts, the strategy now turns towards keeping islanders away from our hospital with a combination of care home stroke home-based telehealth boxes, referring more and more patients for better treatment on the mainland, and increasingly enlisting the services of private health providers. This will further reduce demand for St Mary's services, enabling overall costs to be cut further, thereby allowing the Trust to meet targets and create the illusion of getting to good. Poof! All we'll have left on the island will be a glorified A&E satellite of Southampton General Hospital and Portsmouth's Queen Alexandra.
Right, on a similar theme to my last letter, John Major led the real coup in this country. This is from Adam Cors at Cowes. It was ironic to see 100 or more or so European Union supporters in St Thomas's Square on Saturday, chanting they wanted democracy and protesting that a coup had been staged. Don't they realise it is prerequisite of joining the EU that your country has to give up democracy and rejoin the EU by a coup? As a member, your highest form of lawmaking government becomes the European Commission, which is unelected. To emphasise this, no one elected to the European Parliament is in the government of the EU. Their parliament does not exist to wield power, it is there to draw attention away from it. Additionally, if honouring democracy is your cherished ambition, then supporting and acting the result of the democratic referendum. The real coup was when John Major signed the Maastricht Treaty in 1992, firmly against the will of the UK population. In 3 I-Pose-Mori polls of 1992 on the treaty, all 3 showed a majority of the population opposed to joining the EU, 62% against and 38% for, then 68% against and 32% for, then 59% against, 41% for. Indeed, their polling of key marginal constituencies in 2007 found single-digit 8% support for Gordon Brown's signing the Lisbon Treaty, which he did anyway. Where is democracy in these coups, when an unelected foreign government was imposed upon us without consent?
Get organised to beat Boris, says J. Taylor of Newport. Is it any wonder the forces of the right prosper when the centre-left is so disorganised? As a supporter of the concept of parliamentary democracy, I turned up on Saturday in Newport to find organiser Vix Lothian arriving 10 minutes late and proclaiming she had not been able to find the megaphone, which she used to good effect. On the sidelines lurked Labour's Julian Critchley, waiting for his party's separate protest an hour later. Where is the concept of unity against a common enemy? Come on, fellow centrists. If we are going to grab our country back from Boris, Jacob and the Eton mess, we really need to get organised.
Okay, we're now moving on to Wight Memories. This is an article by Brian Greening. He was loved by all who knew him. Call into the County Press bookshop and you will find a wonderful selection of local books covering a vast range of topics that have been put together by local enthusiasts through the years. One of my all-time favourites is called Back of the Wight by Fred Mew. A tale of shipwrecks through the years, and without such contributions, the generations that follow us might struggle to discover the island's history. Many of the books contain the personal memories of those, like Fred, who actually experienced many of the events portrayed. And although the mind can play tricks on us, their recollections are often extremely accurate. One other such book I enjoyed was written about local theatre in days gone by Peter Norris, and I find it a wonderful reference book of such places. Thus, when I was recently given a few old local theatre programmes to scan, I immediately went to my bookcase to seek it out. It tells the story of local entertainment long before television, and in some cases before the introduction of talking films. Around 100 years ago there was no large cinemas in Newport. Then came the introduction around 1911 of a roller skating rink that doubled as the theatre on Hearn Street, on the site of what is today a large car park. Thereafter the area would have been thronged with people, as the nearby drill hall was also used regularly as a place of entertainment, often by the army bands and musicians from Parkhurst Barracks. The entrance money was varied, as must have been the seating available, as can be seen at the programme showing 1 and 6pence to sit in the ground stalls down to 4 old pennies in a none too good sounding pit. My good friend Bill Shepherd, now aged 98, vividly remembers sitting in the audience at the rink. In the space that I have available, it is only possible, if you will excuse the pun, to skate over the other local places of entertainment around this time. The earliest programme I discovered dating from 1907, when Merry England was put on at the Victoria Hall in Cowes, a venue that was situated in Medina Road, and was a place prone to flooding at very high tides, or following excessive rainfall. One place that is a mystery was the Royal Theatre in Newport, where a show was advertised in 1914. In the following years, the pantomime Babes in the Wood went on tour and was performed at Sandown Shankly and Ventnor town halls. The rink at Newport, the Alexandra Hall in Birmingham Road, Cowes, and the Theatre Royal in Ryde. With the building of the pier at Cowes, shows were also performed in what was called the Pier Pavilion. Just prior to the Second World War, 3 cinemas opened up in Newport that were to provide wonderful entertainment for my generation. These were the Medina, Odeon and the Grand. The proximity of the latter to the aforementioned rink contributing to its demise. I recall my elder brother coming home and enthusing about seeing Anne Shelton at the Medina Theatre. and later I too enjoyed the unforgettable Matt Monroe at the same venue. Pantomimes were performed by a local group known as the Wight Strollers, and then in the late 50s the Commodore at Ryde was a venue to see Lonnie Donegan, Marty Wilde and Tommy Steele. Local theatre groups have provided amateur shows through the years, and say the Apollo Players in Pyle Street regularly give us wonderful entertainment. Recently, an Apollo stalwart for many years, Cyril Amy, passed away, and as leaving us hardly received a mention. He was a man loved by all who knew him. Tall, always elegantly dressed with impeccable manners, he will be missed by so many old friends. Who would have thought a Barton bonehead who lived in a humble dwelling on Copper's Bridge would go on to make such an impression on the local theatre scene? Around 1949 he was one of the founder members of the Newport Repertory Club, and later with the forming of the Apollo Players became one of their leading members. I am told his performance as the MC in the show Cabaret was something to behold. He was for many years a regular worshipper at Gurnard Church, until the deteriorating health of his sister, Renee, with whom he lastly lived at Northwood with. There was once a television show called What's My Line, where a panel of celebrities had to guess contestants' jobs in real life. Cyril defeated the panel and had to tell them at the end that he was secretary to the Mayor of Newport. His other jobs included working in the fashion department of Fowler's in Ryde. Sadly, Cyril was a man who departed this earth largely unheralded, but in time will, I feel sure, join the ever-dwindling list of Newport's real-time characters.
And now, my view. Jonathan Young, our columnist, headlines his article, "Lord Adonis was half right. Seeley must act." Trying to see ourselves as other seers is always worthwhile, especially here on the island, where we're a tad inclined to take what goes on around us as normal and unalterable. 3 years ago it was the head of Ofsted, David Hoare, who put our poor education statistics down to inbreeding and called the island a ghetto. He was, of course, completely OTT with that one and had to recant. But only an ostrich would deny our schools do have a chronic and unexplained problem, and that a lack of social and geographical mobility might easily be a factor. Mr. Hoare's clumsy outburst could have been a spur for some proper research to get to grips with the problem. It hasn't happened, more's the pity. And now, of course, we have Lord Adonis. The one-time Transport Secretary's day trip to Brading was a litany of delays and frustration, to which many of us have become accustomed. He took to Twitter and soon got bogged down in a spat with Bob Seeley. Rather lost in the Solent fog of war were the fundamentals that travel to and from the island often resembles the 13th labour of Hercules. It's been like that for far too long, and what progress there has been, on Mr. Seeley's part and others, is no better than nibbling at the edges. Just like the intractable education problem, we need to remind ourselves it doesn't have to be like this, and Lord Adonis is right to be amazed at what we put up with. Yet when he marvels at the absence of a fixed link, he ignores several things. The downside of such a project, which many of us see, the absence of any realistic funding source, and, most pertinently, the other available means of controlling the ferry company's behaviour. On this last point, Mr. Seeley, for all his recent tweeted compendium of achievements, is culpable. At the county press's hustings before the 2017 general election, he pledged to set up an Isle of Wight bill which will re-regulate the ferries. He hasn't done it, and he won't do it, perhaps because he realised belatedly that the party of government, of which he's a member, wouldn't dream of entertaining such lefty nonsense, and also wouldn't dream of promoting to a junior ministerial role any backbencher who thought it should. This is a great shame, because if such regulation became a real prospect, there could then be a meaningful debate around its virtues versus those of a fixed link. A proper fixed link debate would be divisive, but long overdue. It would require a referendum and feasibility study, both properly funded and independently run. These are prerequisites which Mr. Seeley ought to be pursuing, but not before he has successfully made the case with his political pals for correcting the mistakes of the past and causing Red Funnel and Whiteling to serve islanders properly. Arguing for a fixed link simply as a means of punishing the ferry companies will be seen by many, myself including, as throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Now move on to a local page with across the island various things going on. I'm just going to run through a few of them. The Braden Scarecrow Festival will take place from September the 20th to 28th, together with a free fun day at Braden Youth and Community Centre on Saturday, September the 28th, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. The closing date for entries is Tuesday. Entry forms are available from the Community Centre and Brothers Fish and Chip Shop, or online at www.bragiow.co.uk. Braden Roman Villa Cafe will host a morning of fun and laughter with delicious refreshments and a free no-pressure quiz on Wednesday 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. New Church Horticultural Society will meet at the Pavilion, Watery Lane, at 7:30 on Monday. A speaker from Bunbury Bees will give a talk, all welcome. A jazz, blues, boogie, funk and dance fusion festival weekend will be held in Sandown, with 5 days of live music, dance and workshops at venues around the town, including Sandown Conservative Club, the Wight Hotel, the Old Comical and Taps Pubs, Brown's Golf Course and Sandown Airport. The event starts on Thursday and runs until next Monday, September 16th. The Sandown Forum will meet at 7 p.m. on Mondays at the Lighthouse Church, Fort Street. Representatives from Sandown voluntary and community groups will meet to exchange information and discuss matters with the Isle of Wight and town councillors. For further details, call Heather Humby on 402024. A free open day will be held at Ventnor Heritage Centre, Spring Hill, next Sunday, that's the 15th, from 1:30 to 4 p.m. There will be new exhibitions, including one celebrating 130 years of Ventnor Carnival. Carers Isle of Wight run a support group for unpaid carers on Monday 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Winchester House, Shanklin. Call 533 173 for more information. A coffee morning takes place at Sandown Methodist Church on Tuesday 10:15 to 11:30. Shanklin Community Library runs its Keep Calm and Carry On sewing session every Wednesday 10 a.m. to noon, and a calming colouring club on Fridays at 1:45 p.m. Braden Community Choir meets at St Mary's Church Hall on Tuesday 7:15 to 8:45 p.m. All abilities and ages welcome. Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult. No auditions, just turn up and sing. There's a couple more. The West Wight Dementia Choir will meet at Freshwater Methodist Church Hall on Wednesdays between 10 a.m. and noon. All welcome to come along and have fun. The Monday Tea and Chat Club will be held at St Saviour's Church Hall, Totland, between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Tea, coffee, cakes, bring a friend and join in the fun. Lifts can be arranged by calling Brian on 752 495. A crafts and giftware market will be held at the Wilberforce Hall, Brightstone, each Thursday throughout the summer, between 11 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. Stalls include local scenic photography, knitted baby clothes, hand-painted gift boxes, greeting cards, hand-painted waistcoats, contemporary artwork, knitted blankets and bags. Refreshments available. And the last item in this section, the Really Useful Cafe will meet at the West Wight Sports and Community Centre each Thursday, 10 a.m. to noon. Make new friends over a cuppa and enjoy fun activities.
And carrying on the local notices theme, Ryde Lions meet at Yelf's Hotel Ryde on Tuesday. New members are very welcome. For further information, call 0845 833 5789. Friendly rubber bridge sessions are held on Tuesday afternoons from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Seagrove Pavilion, Seaview, £3 per session. For further information, call Pam Edgerton on 616 346. Seaview Fun Choir meets every Thursday from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. at the Undercroft at St Peter's Church. Sessions cost £2 to cover the cost of refreshments. For more information, call Wendy on 716 120. Ryde Recorded Music Society will meet at Ryde Methodist Church, Garfield Road at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday. Yoga classes are held at Ryde Chiropractic Clinic at 7:15 a.m., 6 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. on Mondays and at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays. For further information, call Nikki on 07799 032824. And there's a chess club. Meets on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. at Bembridge Village Hall. £2 per evening. Tea, coffee and biscuits available. All are welcome. A Citizens Advice Isle of Wight and Ryde Aspire drop-in session will be held at Aspire Ryde on Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Advisors will be on hand to offer information and advice. All are welcome. Bembridge Community Library holds knitting and colouring sessions every Friday afternoon. Bring your own knitting or just come along for company and a chat. The Rainbow White Singers meet on Wednesdays at All Saints Church Hall, Ryde, from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. The sessions are informal and there are no auditions. £3 per session. A tea dance will be held at Aspire Ryde on Wednesday between 2 and 4 p.m, including modern, sequence and line dancing. Beginners are welcome and tutors will be on hand. Bembridge Village Fair takes place on Wednesday 9 till noon at Bembridge Village Hall. And Fishbourne Parish Council will hold a surgery at the Royal Victoria Yacht Club on Tuesday from 10 a.m. A lecture about dinosaurs will be given at Cowes Yacht Haven at 6 p.m. on Wednesday by renowned Canadian paleontologist Dr. Donald Henderson. It's entitled Alberta Dinosaurs and the Royal Tyrrell Museum of Paleontology. Entry is free. Island musicians, comedians and poets have been invited to take part in a charity Jam and Join In evening to raise funds for the British Heart Foundation and Cancer Research UK. It will be held at East Cowes Town Hall on Thursday, September the 26th at 7 p.m. A Friends of the Animals quiz and raffle will be held at the Folly Inn, Whippingham at 7:45 p.m. on Tuesday, £3 per person. And the Alzheimer's Cafe will meet at Cowes Methodist Church on Wednesday 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. There will be a speaker and refreshments. An art and craft group meets at St Mary's Church, Cowes on Thursday, 2 to 4 p.m, £1.50 per person. All welcome, with help available to learn crafts, including knitting, card making and crochet. The Cowes Library has a friendly and experienced family historian offering one-to-one sessions, helping people research their family history. Sessions are held on Monday mornings at an hourly rate of £6 and must be booked in advance. Alternative times can be arranged. For further information, call the library on 293341. A number of friendly skill-sharing groups meet at the Beckford Centre, Cowes. There are art sessions on Monday and Thursday, 1:30 p.m. to 4 p.m, local history on Monday, crafts on Tuesday, and a discussion group on Thursday, all 10 a.m. to noon. Photography every other Wednesday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m, and stitchcraft on Tuesday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. The Good Grief Trust will hold a pop-up cafe at God's Providence House, Newport, on Wednesday from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Bereaved people are welcome to share their stories over a cuppa and a slice of cake and find out about support services available on the island. For further information, call Sue on 07922 577735.
Okay, we move on to some entertainments now. A gin festival is back and this year has added ale. The Isle of Wight Gin and Ale Festival is back, celebrating Britain's artisan gins and throwing in some local island ales too. The festival will take place at Ryde Pavilion on Sunday, September the 15th from noon until 6 p.m. There will be Mermaid Pink Gin and other offerings from the Isle of Wight Distillery, ales from Goodard's Brewery and a choice of tonics from Fever Tree. Live music will accompany the afternoon, including the Alberts and the Bunker Girls, ending with a gin and jive out with the latter. This year's chosen charity is Wight Brainy Bunch. The popular annual event is organised by Helen Maddox, a lover of all things gin. A new season of concerts starts with Piano Duo. The first concert of West Wight Arts Association's new season will be given by the piano duo Matthew Stanley and Berinda Cook on Saturday, September the 14th. The duo are winners of the International Piano Duo competition in Tokyo, as well as the Kodama Prize and the Ongoko no Tomoa Sponsors Prize, the first British duo to win. They will be putting WWAA Steinway Grand Piano through its paces, playing works by Schubert, Schmidt, Bernstein and Eli, finishing with an arrangement of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. The concert takes place in Freshwater Memorial Hall at 7 o'clock. Tickets available, the box office is 756028.
The annual Bramble Bank cricket match, played on a sandbank in the middle of the Solent, returned last weekend. The eccentric match sees teams from the Royal Southern Yacht Club, Southampton, and the Island Sailing Club go head-to-head, a rivalry dating back to the 50s, where the teams traditionally take it in turns to win the match, cheered on by spectators anchored around the pitch. This year, the Island team had the bragging rights, winning with a World Cup-style super over after both sides comfortably reached the score cap of 99 runs. The game started at the crack of dawn, at low tide, 6:30 a.m, with the Reverend Andrew Pop blessing the Sandy, playing strip before it got underway. Afterwards, all players and a record number of spectators returned to the Island Sailing Club for a full English breakfast and the awards ceremony.
This is an article by Kate Young about Event Has Something for All. Car and motorbike enthusiasts galore will be flocking to the Isle of Wight International Charity Classic Car Extravaganza next weekend. The event, which is supported by the county press, is now in its 18th year and will be held at Newport Quay next Saturday and on Ryde Esplanade the following day. Hundreds of vehicles of all types will be in attendance, with many coming from across the UK and further afield to make their debut on the island. Whether you grew up in the 1940s or the 80s, there are bound to be lots of classic vehicles you will recognise, as well as a wide range of enchanting one-off cars. Among the eye-catching one-offs is a 1968 Ford Angular 105e with a difference, which will be appearing at the show on Sunday. Many people will associate the 105e with Harry Potter, as the flying Ford Angular in the stories was a light blue Ford Angular 105e Deluxe, which was enchanted by Arthur Weasley to fly, as well as to become invisible with the use of a specially installed device called an invisibility booster. It was also modified so that it could fit 8 people, 6 trunks, 2 owls and a rat comfortably. While this particular 105e doesn't fly, it is fitted with a powerful Range Rover engine plus a BMW M3 rear axle, so it rocks a unique wider wheel look. Owner Rob Elliott from the New Forest said the car came to him with good bodywork, but it was rotten underneath. As a veteran of many vehicle refurbishments, he said there was only one thing on my mind left to do. Sell all the bits I don't want, chop out the rotten floor pan and stuff a full litre V8 engine in front of the steering wheel. The new version has starred in several magazines and was built and painted entirely by Rob, who is currently refurbishing 2 other Ford Anglers as well. If military vehicles are more your thing, look out for a 1942 Willys Jeep at the show on Sunday. Its fair and based owner has owned this Jeep for 7 years and felt it would be particularly poignant to show it this year, as it is the 75th anniversary of D-Day. He has fully restored it and has added many additional features to try and make it look authentic, as it would have done during its war years. He has even managed to get a period radio which has drawn lots of attention at the shows he has attended. It is the first appearance on the island for both the 1968 Ford Angular 105e and the 1942 Willys Jeep, so make sure you pop along to the show on Sunday to see them. This year, organiser Vic Galucki has had so many requests to show vehicles, there will be different models on show each day, so the Newport and Ryde lineups will not be exactly the same. The show is free to attend and also has collections for island charities each day.
And now for things more horticultural. So-called moonflowers come in all shapes and sizes, being a generic description most often of flowers that bloom at night. But there are few more beautiful than Linda McArdle's Queen of the Night moonflower, which is in fact one of the many varieties of epiphylium, also known as the orchid cactus. Linda's example is also a plant with an interesting backstory, the best kind. 2 small cuttings were given to Linda several months ago by a friend who was going into a nursing home. They were once neighbours in Cowes, and when her friend's moonflower was about to open, she would ring her pals for a moon party. As she knew how enamoured Linda was with this event, she kindly passed the cuttings to her. Linda was amazed at how they took, and miraculously, on the night of July the 5th, her first moonflower opened. Linda said, "By chance, we had a ready audience as we were decorating a marquee for my daughter's birthday party the next night, so we had an earlier celebration. Since then, the family have had 2 more moonflowers 2 weeks apart. I am so thrilled I have had such success and can carry on the tradition," said Linda. "I have had a compilation of photos framed and have taken it to Kite Hill Nursing Home, where it's hanging on my friend's bedroom wall, where she can enjoy seeing the beautiful flowers once again. Linda was incredibly fortunate to get blooms so quickly. It usually takes at least a couple of years, and I can see a photo here of the moonflower in full bloom. It's really beautiful, a very bright white and double flowered with white stamens inside as well.
Staying on a similar topic as top tips. As we enter September, it is a good time to pamper your lawn. Invest in a hollow time tool, or as second best, use a fork. Remove thatch from the surface with a rake and repair bald patches. Use a mechanical lawn scarcifier if you have a large area to cover. Plant spring flowering bulbs now, such as daffodils, crocus and hyacinths. Continue to feed and deadhead container and hanging basket plants and annuals and perennials in the garden. Most will keep flowering until the first frost. Divide herbaceous perennials as the weather cools and water in the new divisions well. Keep camellias and rhododendrons well watered to ensure that your next year's buds develop well. Pinch out the tips of outdoor tomato plants to concentrate the plant's energy into producing ripe fruit. Cut off the foliage of main crop potatoes at ground level 3 weeks before lifting to prevent infection from blight spores and help firm the skins.
And now we're talking about the Isle of Wight Literary Festival. And Jo Brand has accepted to come and talk. She's one of the UK's best-loved comedians, and she's joined the lineup for the Red Funnel Isle of Wight Literary Festival. The star and writer of Getting On, the BBC's BAFTA award-winning series, will be speaking about her new book, Born Lippy, How to Do Female. In addition to memorable anecdotes from her life and career, Brand will share jokes and funny stories coloured by her experiences as a psychiatric nurse, stand-up comedian and working mother of 2. Brand, who co-wrote and starred in 2 series of the sitcom Damned for Channel 4, in addition to appearances on QI, Never Mind the Buzzcocks, Live at the Apollo, 8 out of 10 Cats, and Have I Got News for You, will be one of more than 60 authors speaking at the festival next month. Julia Dams, the festival programme director, said, "We can look forward to wit and wisdom in abundance from this wonderful raconteur." Brand will appear on Sunday the 13th of October at 1 p.m. The festival, now in its 8th year, will be held at Northwood House, Cowes.
Get back to gardening. Christmas in July and cowslips in August. I have been swamped with emails from readers, which is a good thing. So apologies to those of you who may not have seen the result. But as things quieten down in the garden in the next few weeks, they will see the light of day. Top of my squirreled away treasure store is a message from Pat McGree, set in the spirit of topsy-turvy seasons of a cowslip in bloom in August. She said, "I wondered if you or any of your readers have a cowslip blooming in the garden right now." I have, though it is somewhat battered. Well, Pat, I haven't. I have not seen any other blooms on my fairly frequent country rambles. But Pat rightly observes there is an increasing confusion in the plant world caused by unseasonable weather. Cowslips are gorgeous and were once plentiful in pastures and banks before they were intensively managed, and they are now in the wild making something of a comeback. Through the now widespread policy of not mowing roadside verges so rigidly, a policy driven by austerity and conversation, April and May are normally the best months to see cowslips, known by the charming vernaculars, long legs, freckled face, fairy's flower, ladies' fingers and milk maidens. They share their family's tendency to produce a profusion of variations, including a variety known to gardeners as Devon red and orange flowered forms too. They are quite easily grown from seed and should be sown in late autumn, ready to germinate next spring. Needing chill weather to germinate could also explain Pat's cowslip confusion.
On Monday and Wednesday, Ventnor Film Society will screen the French drama An Impossible Love at 7:30 p.m. This carries a 15 certificate. On Tuesday, the club will also screen an exclusive live broadcast of Margaret Atwood, author of The Handmaid's Tale, discussing her career in an interview with broadcaster and author Samira Ahmed at 7:30 p.m. On Thursday, the club will also be showing Fleabag, an award-winning one-woman show that inspired the BBC hit TV series of the same name.
Shanklin promoted. Shanklin had to wait until the final match of the season to secure their promotion from Hampshire Division 3. There were some understandable nerves before Saturday's game against local rivals Ventnor, but they need not have worried about beating the rock-bottom relegated side by 10 wickets. Ventnor won the toss and got off to a good start, with Mark Fletcher and Mark Woodhouse putting on 34 runs for the first wicket. But Shanklin's bowling attack, so consistently effective all summer, made light work of the Ventnor line-up to skittle them out for 109. After a short delay for rain, Shanklin made quick work of the run chase, with Mark Ringer 66 and Lucy 37 ensuring Shanklin won promotion by passing Ventnor's total in just 18 overs.
And that's all from this session of today's Talking Newspaper. So it's goodbye from Linda.
And it's goodbye from Paul, and just reminding everyone about the next quiz I'm running October the 17th at the Waverley. Thank you.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. Many young people get involved in raising money for good causes. Quite a few even take on some pretty tough activities to earn their cash. But earlier this year, we met Hester, then 11, who planned to take her project to pretty extraordinary lengths. To understand the charity she was working for, Ethiopiaid, she was setting off to attend classes in a blind school in the province of Tigray. And her fun run would be in very high temperatures and at altitude. Well, at that time, I asked Hester what she understood about blind children's education in Ethiopia.
I know that their education is quite basic and they don't really have all the equipment that I have, and I'm going to give them all of the things that they need. And also, it's not just their lessons, it's their social life and the grounds around them that also are quite they need developing.
So in a way, you feel as if you've been quite lucky, in a way, you want to pass it on.
Yeah, I've been quite lucky with my education. I've basically got everything I need for an independent school life, and I want to give them that opportunity to be independent.
Are you nervous about this at all?
It's going to be quite a big step going to Ethiopia, but it will be very exciting.
So, how did it go? Well, Hester's back. She's our studio guest today. Hester, welcome back. I know you've been back for a little while now. We're going to talk to you at more length about your trip later in the programme, but just one lasting impression that you've taken from it that sticks with you?
Well, the children I met in Ethiopia, they've definitely all made a lasting impression on me because they are such positive children and they're so eager to learn. And that's the reason I went out there, because their education definitely needs addressing because they are so able and they have potential to go a really long way, and I think that they should have that, and that's stayed with me.
And how much money did you raise?
I raised just over £27,000.
Right. But because it was very clear you were a girl who was up for a challenge, we thought that while you were here, we'd ask for your help. Have you ever played Lego?
Not really, because it's never been very accessible to me, but my brothers have, so I've watched them do it.
Right. Well, we've brought some Lego along, but this is because the company is trying quite hard to make the construction system accessible to visually impaired people. Your mum, Sarah, is along as well, just to make sure if there are any difficulties. Have you got the box there, Sarah?
I have the box. Hester has the box.
Ah, right. So you've been playing around with it while we've been waiting. How are you getting on?
Well, the first instruction was to open the box.
Still haven't done that.
Which is quite tricky.
Well, have a go, will you?
Okay, right. So you have to undo some sellotape here and then, aha, hey press. Oh, it's got stuck.
Actually, are there instructions, Sarah?
There are instructions. It says open the box.
Oh, I've done
This
it.
is
I've done
tricky.
it. I've done it.
Well
So-
done. It says this is tricky for everyone, so ask someone to help you.
You didn't actually need any help, did you, in the end?
Yeah,
Have you
fiddling.
got long fingernails?
Yes, I've been working away for the last 30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Lego has taken on the challenge of making itself more accessible for blind people, both in terms of the bricks themselves and also making the instructions accessible in both Braille and in audio formats. The man who's had a major role in all this is Matthew Schifrin, who's always been fascinated by the construction sets, but also frustrated by the difficulty of playing completely independently. He joins us from Boston. So, Matt, first of all, tell me how you started to use Lego.
My experience with Lego started with a box on the side of the road. Lita, who's a friend of the family, was driving me back from some sort of lesson, and she pulls over the car and she says, "Get out of the car." And I say, "Okay, is something wrong?" And she says, No, just do it." And so I get out of the car and she says, "Here's a big crate." And it's this giant plastic tub. And she says, "Okay, I need you to get this crate in the back of the car. Can you do that?" And I say, "Yeah, I'm 5 or 6 years old at this point, and this crate is about twice as heavy as I am." And so I'm trying to lift this crate, and we lift it and we get it into the trunk of the car. And then she says, open it up. And I say, "Okay." And I open it up and it's filled to the brim with Lego pieces. And that's how my love affair with Lego started.
But what were the problems that you found?
I couldn't build using the instructions because they were all graphics. They were all pictures. And it was really problematic because as a child, I had friends who were very, very committed to Lego and very passionate. And they would come into school and they'd say, "Hey, I built a spaceship yesterday." And another one would say, "Oh, I built a castle yesterday." And I said, "How did you do it?" And they said, "Oh, well, we just looked at the instructions and they told us what to do." And the trouble was I built with my parents a lot, but my parents were busy. And so you'd get half a set done and then the rest of it would just go in the general Lego bin, never to be seen again.
Your enthusiasm, you still sound like that 5-year-old. How old are you now, Matthew?
I'm 22.
And clearly as keen as ever.
Very.
I think you had a particular friend who actually helped you play.
Mm-hmm. The friend was Lena Finkel. She was a family friend. And on my 13th birthday, she brought me this big cardboard box and this big fat binder. And in this big cardboard box, there was an 843-piece Middle Eastern Lego palace. And in the big fat binder were instructions that she brailled by hand on a Braille typewriter, which let me know what parts I'd need, where they should be placed, and what everything would look like once everything was said and done.
And of course, there are a huge number of possibilities and various construction projects with Lego. So how large were these Braille instructions that she managed to construct for you?
About the size of an encyclopedia.
Now, so explain now how you've become involved with the Lego project in making it more accessible.
After that first set that we made accessible about almost a decade ago, we decided that we could make these sets just in Microsoft Word. And then we put them on a website called legofortheblind.com. And that's where all our instructions lived. And when Lego for the Blind was launched, I got hundreds of emails from parents of blind children and blind kids themselves, saying, "Hey, this is great. Can you make this set accessible? And that one? And what about this other one?" And we had to turn these people down because it was just two of us. She would write the instructions, and I would build the sets and check the instructions for typos. And then I reached out to Lego and asked them whether they'd be interested in creating their own text-based instructions so blind kids could build their sets on their own. And thankfully, Lego said yes.
Well, we may let Hester ask you a few questions herself because she's been working away at this while you've been talking. But let me first bring in Fenella Blaze Charity, who's the creative director of Lego Friends. So, Fenella, just explain what the company launched last week, because you've kind of done this in stages, haven't you?
Yes, so we're actually launching a pilot which will consist of 4 sets. We launched those last week with the instructions online, so you can read them using a braille reader, you can have audio instructions or a screen reader.
I mean, do they have to be online? There are ways of producing braille instructions, or are ways of producing audio instructions. I just wonder why you've decided to do it that way.
We've launched them online just to try and make them as accessible as possible for as many people as possible. But of course, this is all part of the feedback of the pilot, and we're definitely looking into ways that we can even make it more accessible and, even better than it is now.
You've described this as a pilot project. And as blind people, we're rather used to pilot projects that kind of get their companies some cute publicity, but then go no further. Are there developments going to be incorporated into all future Lego projects? Is that the idea? And indeed some past ones that people are still using?
Yes, I mean, that is definitely the ambition, but we found that there are a lot of challenges in doing this. So in a lot of ways, our pilot is the step in the right direction, and we definitely intend for this to be scaled in the future.
Well, Hester, if I can get your attention back as you rummage with your Lego.
Yeah.
For a start, how are you getting on?
Okay, so we've managed to open the box, and inside we found a few big packets of multicolour pieces of Lego. So for the last few minutes, my mother has been trying to sort them into colours, and she's looking quite frantic.
What is the project that you are actually hopefully trying to start?
It says it's going to be a house.
OK. You have here the creative director. You also have the man who's driven the whole idea. So you've got the opportunity to ask these. If you want to ask questions, this is the time to do it. Anything in particular?
Well, yeah, as you said, the whole thing is about getting blind children to enjoy Lego, but also to do it independently. And in the instructions here, it says get a sighted person to help you, which would probably mean a parent or something. I'm just wondering what the next step is to make that more independent.
Matthew, that is a very good point, isn't it? You know, if you need some...
it's a wonderful point.
Yeah,
definitely.
What's the answer?
I think it's more of a Fenella question.
He's a politician. Fenella?
Thanks, Matthew. I think, as I said, this was a lot more challenging than we might have first expected. There's always going to be challenges. In this case, we have to expect that the parent or someone around the child becomes a mentor. But this is also parallel to the way that Lego is as an experience for sighted children as well. And we know that to have a positive first experience with Lego, you definitely need a play mentor to be there at the beginning. So we understand that it might be frustrating, but it's all about having a successful first experience and feeling proud of what you've done. And for that to happen, we know that you need support the first time you do it.
Right. Well, the play mentor is Sarah, who's here. I know neither of you have had very long to look at it, but what are your own impressions?
Well, first of all, I had to sort it into colour, and it does say find a sighted person, sort it into colour. So I've done that, and we have got a sea of articles, and how Hester is going to find the right piece to use according with the instructions is going to be interesting. We haven't started the build yet, but we can give it a go.
Yeah, because for a fully blind person, even though we sorted everything into colours, if you didn't have a parent, if you're doing it like for a second time or something, I think the whole with the braille, we could have, if say a red Lego piece could have the letter R or the blue piece could have a letter B, just something to give you a little bit more independence to allow you to do that, just that bit more on your own.
Matthew, are you going to tell me that that's a Fenella question?
No.
Go on then.
Here's the thing. Back in the day when I used to build these sets, my friend would sort each pieces for each step into separate Ziploc bags, label them in Braille, then put them in larger Ziploc bags. So a set would consist of 3 or 4 of these large Ziploc bags. And each one would say, here are the pieces for step 1, step 2, step 3. But Lego, I mean, I can't expect Lego to to rebag their parts in such a speedy build way. And it's unfortunate, but the trouble is if Lego is primarily a sighted toy, and I know very many adult Lego builders who say, oh, the sorting process is therapeutic, they say. Our favorite part is just sorting pieces.
Just opening the box.
Just opening the box. And I think an issue in part will be to really kind of understand the pieces. At this point, it might make sense not only to sort by color, but Hester, for example, your first piece is a flat 4x4.
Yeah, we found that. There we go.
Yeah.
So
And
you know
then-
it's 4x4. How do you know it's 4x4? That confused me in the instructions.
Did we work out correctly that it's supposed to be 4 dots up and 4 dots across? Is that
Exactly.
what it means? Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we're making progress, I must say. And Matthew, as the man really who started this, how would you like to see this develop?
Lego for blind children, it really helps them understand the world in a more tactile way. I mean, I can't climb the dome of the National Gallery. I know it's a domed building, but if I tried to climb the National Gallery to figure out what that dome looked like, I'd get arrested. Or Nelson's Column, or whatever famous architectural landmarks you like. It's impossible to really engage with them because they're giant. But when you build something out of Lego, it really enables you to learn more about the world around you in a way that you otherwise would be unable to as a blind person. And so my goal would be, if Lego could make all of their sets going forward include these text-based instructions, that would really open up a whole new world to blind children and really help them engage with the world around them in a way that they previously were unable to.
Matthew Schifrin and Fenella Blaze Charity, thank you both very much indeed. My thanks to Matthew Schifrin and Fenella Blaze Charity. The pilot offering downloadable instructions for 4 Lego sets is going to be running up until the end of December. Details on our website. So just as these two go, Hester, how far have you got with this house?
Well, I think we've essentially made the roof. So we've got a sort of window, I think it might be an attic or something.
Which is not bad, given that you've only really been seeing it and doing it for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think, Hester?
I think it could definitely be... Yeah, I think this is definitely something for everyone. And I hope that it does continue to work towards it being more accessible to more children.
Can you imagine it being something that you do and spread out on your floor? And
yeah, definitely.
We shall see. We'll check that in about 3 years' time. You might have moved on.
Yeah, maybe.
Right, time to stop playing around with Lego. Does that take you back to Ethiopia, Hester?
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
And just give me a sense of what it's like in that background that I was hearing. What was going on?
That was basically everyday life on the streets of Addis Ababa and Mekelle. So there's very little sort of traffic control. There are no sort of lines on the roads, no traffic lights or anything. It's all just one big sort of colossal mess with animals and cars and people just running across the roads negotiating.
So if you were a blind person, how well do you think you would be able to navigate that?
It's extremely challenging.
Yeah. And you say there are animals as well in amongst all that?
Yeah, there are cows, and I saw sheep being walked like dogs by their owners.
So did you find out how blind people do cope in that kind of environment?
Well, usually they sort of use their long sticks and they hold on to their friends, which isn't actually very unusual in Ethiopia. So your friends hold on to you and you hold on to them, and that's how they do it.
I mean, do you think it would be feasible to just, as many blind people do here, you go on your own, even somewhere like London where there's there's quite a lot of people, but there are also organised pavements and so forth. Can you imagine people being able to do that?
That's not really the way they do it in Ethiopia in any case. They do everything with their friends to just help them around.
Now, you went to the school for visually impaired children in Mekelle. What? Tell me about your impressions there. I mean, can you remember what it was like just walking in?
It was just such a big big surprise. They gave me a really, really nice welcome, and I could see straight away that these are really happy children. So we did some dancing, and my impressions were, when I walked onto the uneven ground, that it was very inaccessible for a visually impaired person, and I could tell that straight away. And they'd only just built a wall to keep the hyenas out, and there were sort of thistle bushes and just uneven rocks and an open drain where the children play football. So yeah.
How many pupils there? How many visually impaired pupils?
Around 100. I think it's 95 or something.
And what kind of facilities did they have, for education?
Well, they had a few sort of just. It was a huge courtyard, basically. The whole thing was one big campus, and there were a few sort of huts, buildings, where they'd, with some desks inside, where they'd learn English and Braille. And there was one place where they'd get their hair braided for the girls. And then there was their dormitories, which were just a row of rundown little huts.
And you mentioned English, but what kind of things weren't they able to do in terms of subjects?
They're not allowed to do maths or sports or anything like that and science, because the teachers don't know how to teach them, and they don't want to teach them because they just don't know how, and they're not equipped to do so.
But it wasn't all work, was it? And you say they don't play sport, but didn't you get the chance to play football?
Yeah, I did. I brought some jingly bells, so balls with bells in, and I played some great football with them, and they're pretty good. But yeah, the place we played football was not very accessible for them.
Let's just get a sense of how that sounded.
You kick to the downwards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, start.
No! Oh my God! We are severely outnumbered!
What did you mean you were severely outnumbered? What was going on?
We were going to play boys versus girls, but the girls backed out at the last minute. So I sort of grabbed a couple of people and said, "You're on my team." But there was a lot of, we were very severely outnumbered by all the other people who were on the other team, and it was very fun though, very fun.
Sounded quite energetic, because I imagine it's pretty hot, isn't it?
Oh, it was 30 degrees, definitely, and just I'd never really felt it before, but that was my first real taste of what the run was going to be like, because it was so high altitude that it got me out of breath from the first lap. So, yeah.
And I mean, what about the things, because you took quite a lot of things with you. What kind of things did you take?
I took things like plasticine and Play-Doh to help. I mean, it does help with the maths as well, and it's just for the little children to play with as well. And one of the main things I brought, which definitely made them really happy, was story boxes with stories downloaded, English stories on memory chips, and you put them into the box and they play them for the blind children. And I thought that's a really nice thing for them to do, because up until that, their recreation was just sitting in their dormitories listening to their textbooks, which...
Now, you mentioned, how difficult, how basic some of the equipment was, and yet there are examples, aren't there, of blind people, blind women in particular, who've been really successful. And I think you met one of them, didn't you?
Yes, I met someone called Yetnabesh, but we called her Yeti, and she is a blind lawyer working for disabled sort of rights in Ethiopia.
And in fact, we can actually hear you meeting her just after the fun run.
How long are you guys going to be staying? Tomorrow. That's not fair. I know. Yeah. So then we have to have dinner today. Yeah. That's the only option, yeah? I can come and pick you around 6. I don't know, Hester, if you know I'm blind.
Oh, are you?
Did I tell you?
Oh, no.
No, okay,
Oh, right.
I'm blind too. Okay.
And I think you actually did, or at least constructed an interview with her, didn't you? Tell me about that.
Yeah, she did. She invited us for dinner, and at her house over dinner, I did ask her a few questions about what she does and what. And we did decide together that we don't want to be regarded as blind people as a miracle. We just want to be treated as everyone else, because some people think, oh, she walked down a flight of stairs, that's amazing, and that's not exactly what we want. We want to do the same things, and just because we do them adapted doesn't mean that we are special.
And I think somebody, you wrote the questions, is that right? Somebody asked them for you?
Yeah, I wrote the questions, but giving me the questions was my friend Lily from school, whose mum works with the charity. So she's giving me the questions in that recording.
Is that because you didn't have access to anything to write on?
I couldn't read them.
Okay, let's hear what she said.
Okay, we are ready.
So, how did you become blind at 5 years old?
That's an interesting question. I don't know the how, but I think I had some medical complications that were not able to be fixed by the time, because I was living quite far from the city, like around 680 kilometers away from the city, so there was no medication at all. So I remember I had a fever, and I remember I was sometimes unconscious, so I was so weak. So I was very close to death. Death didn't succeed in taking me, so finally blindness got me.
And why do you say going blind was like winning the lottery?
Interesting. You have really researched a lot. Because in the area where I come from, early marriage for girls is like the norm. So my mom was married when she was 11, and she gave birth to me when she was 14. So had I not been blind, I would have got early married. So I would have never been educated, and so I would have never been the Yetneberg who I am today. So I just tell people I have won a lottery when I was 5, which made me a billionaire. The reason I'm picking the billionaire number is that we're more than 1 billion persons with disabilities, so I only could belong to the billions because of this lottery, which I won when I was 5 years old. So had I not been blind, I would have been early married, not educated at all, not empowered at all, not speaking English, not visiting UK, or not meeting Hester. So it would have been a completely different Yetneberg than whom you know today.
And was there ever a point in your life when you felt like giving up?
No, not really. I always believe that challenges are kind of the paths to opportunities. So I feel always happy, and I feel always trusted whenever I face a challenge. I know that it's my responsibility to turn those challenges to opportunities. So I have faced challenges, but I never realized that, or I never thought that they were there to stop me. Rather, I always thought that I was there to overcome them and stand over them.
That's Yetneberg Negusi. Pretty impressive woman.
Yeah, definitely. She's all the things she said in that clip were very relatable, because those are the sort of things that I do think. And yeah, she just deals with life in such a way that it is definitely what I do feel, and it is inspirational, but not because she is blind necessarily. It's just how she deals with life is so incredible.
And then there was the centrepiece of your trip, the thing you actually went for, amongst other things, that was the run. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was a 5k run in Addis Ababa. So we had to go, we went from Addis Ababa to Mekelle to visit the blind school, and then we went back to Addis Ababa for the 5k run. And it's the women's first run, and it's to promote women's rights in Ethiopia, and that was a fundraising run.
What was the altitude like? What was the effect of it?
Oh, it was definitely a bigger challenge. So as you heard in the football, I was going...
well,
yeah, and that wasn't even 5k.
You don't have to do that. I think we can hear how you felt. Hang on.
It was one of the most physically and mentally exhausting things I've ever done. So, yeah, really exhausted.
Tana, how was it for you? What were the challenges?
I think just having to talk the whole time, and the heat is so intense that I think, getting your words out and checking that Hester's okay and making sure she's still positive, I mentally was draining myself.
How was the atmosphere?
Oh, it's so busy.
Yeah, it was electric.
There's so many people, isn't there? I spent most of my time saying left and right and weaving through people, and it's pretty cool. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so glad and honoured you got me to come and do it with you, so thank you.
That pretty much sums up my feelings about the whole run.
Your mum is rather unkindly laughing.
Yeah, thank you so much. You did it too.
I did. I was exhausted.
I beat you.
You did sound absolutely shattered. Yeah, and that was, you were with your guide, Charlotte Evans.
Yeah, she's my ski coach as well.
Are you going to keep up your links with the Michaeli School?
Definitely. After I came back, I'm now a youth ambassador for the charity, and I definitely want to go back one day to visit all my old friends because I have made some really incredible connections from March. So, yeah, and I'm definitely going to keep campaigning for disabled rights just like Yeti.
And what do you think you learnt from them?
I think that they are a huge... So they should inspire everybody because they are just so positive and they do want to do well. And but it is sad because the teachers need to be able to teach them better so that they can achieve their full potential.
And how's the Lego going?
The Lego, we are currently working on the piano. No, the keyboard. And I'm still not entirely... Oh, a bit fell off there. I'm still not entirely sure how this works. So we've got...
Sarah, can you describe?
Yeah, well, we made the house more like a bungalow to begin with. So we've sort of turned that around. And we have half a keyboard. Most of its keys have just fallen off, but it's taking shape.
So perhaps the Ethiopia project was a bit more successful than the Lego so
better
far.
at running.
Yeah.
Hester, thank you so much for being with us today, and also Sarah, thank you too for steering us through that.
Thank you for having us.
And that is all for today. You can contact us to leave your direct messages on 0161 836 1338. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk, and from our website you can also download tonight's programme or go to BBC Sounds. From me, Peter Wight, producer Lee Kumatat, Hester and Sarah, goodbye.
This is the scaffolding news for Friday, the 6th of September 2019. We start with the Cowes area. Current scaffolds: Cameos, Bath Road, Cowes; 43 Sun Hill, Cowes; Prince's Buildings, Bath Road, Cowes. Pending scaffolds: Regency House, 42 High Street, Cowes. There are current skips at 38 Moor Green Road, Cowes, and 5 Bayview Road, Gurnard. And there's a current hoarding at Northwood Primary School, Wyatt's Lane, Northwood.
In the Newport area, current scaffolds at Precision Hair, 50 St James Street, Newport; Age UK 114A, Pyle Street, Newport; 113 Pyle Street; The Body Shop, 52 High Street, Newport; Trespass, 44 High Street, Newport; 34 C Street, Newport; 109 Carisbrook Road, Newport. A pending cherry picker at Sheet Corner Cottage, Main Road, Chillerton, and a current skip at 97 Gunville Road, Newport.
And in the Ryde area, the current scaffolds are at 35 to 36 High Street, Ryde; flats 31 to 36 Merrymead Close, Ryde; Boots 170 High Street, Ryde; Olivo Restaurant 32-33 Union Street, Ryde; Liz Earle, Union Street, Ryde; 6 to 7 Union Street, Ryde; 6 Anglesey Street, Ryde; and at 138 to 139 High Street, Ryde. Pending cherry picker, that's at Wootton Industrial Estate in White Rails Road, Wootton. Current skips at 13 Surrey Street, Ryde, and there are pending skips 28 Marlborough Road, Ryde.
In the Sandown and Shanklin area, current scaffolds 23 High Street, Shanklin; pending scaffolds 42 Fitzroy Street, Sandown; pending cherry picker, junction of Town Lane and York Road, Sandown; current hoardings, Premier Inn 1 to 9 Esplanade, Sandown; current mobile crane, Premier Inn 1 to 9 Esplanade, Sandown; current skips, 23 Wilton Road, Shanklin; 44 Moorview, Godshill; Shanklin Towers, Prospect Road, Shanklin.
And in the Ventnor area, current scaffolds, corner of Trinity Road and Madeira Road, Ventnor; 1 Boniface Road and into Trinity Road, Ventnor. Current skips at 16 South Street, Ventnor, and pending cherry picker, that's at the junction of Zigzag Road and Ocean View Road, Ventnor.
In the West White area, current scaffolds, Oak Cottage, Farriers Lane, Shorewell; vehicle crossings under construction, Marvel Lodge, Marvel Lane, Newport; 13 Ashy Road, Ryde; 10 Palmers Road, Wootton, 18 Donington Drive, Shanklin, Old School Place, Cockleton Lane, Gurnard, 12 Cooper Road, Newport, 27 Albert Road, Shanklin, 56 Lower Furlongs, Brading, 4 Swanage Terrace, Moons Hill, Totland.